And let's bring in Adrian Dater now, Avalanche insider at ColoradoHockeyNow.com. Adrian, thanks for hanging on through the break. I appreciate that. It's been a while since we chatted, and in the wild times with the Avs continue. Maybe we start with Mikko Rantanen and the COVID protocol issue. It's never gone easy for the Avs this year.
No, it hasn't. It never is with this team, really, when it comes to injuries or things like this. But, it turns out Mikko Rantanen did not test positive for, at least not yet anyway, for COVID. So I think it maybe just been exposed, and he could be off the list here in 2 or 3 days. So better than 2 weeks, and he could play next week. But, the Avs still have 3 guys on the COVID list as of right now.
I think I mentioned to you last time we chatted how many Avalanche fans there are up here. A ton. My daughter's boyfriend and his entire family are Avs fans. And you talked about how it's never easy for the Avs. They've sure persevered, though, man. This battle with the Golden Knights for the top of the division has been wild, and they've been through a lot of adversity. Can you just explain the adversity the Avs have been through the past few months through this regular season?
Yeah, well, first of all, it used to be easy in this town. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup their first year, but they have had a lot of injury stuff in the last, however long it's been. I mean, the adversity really started last year in the playoffs, second round. They lost 7 guys in the start of the second round and got eliminated by Dallas. They started off the season with their backup goalie or 1A goalie, Pablo Francouz. Never played at all this year with injuries. Eric Johnson was lost for the season probably. Matt Calvert has had concussion issues. He's still out. Then you get the COVID stuff that they had. They've already had 1 pause this year. Now they've got a second pause. Right now they have the most guys in the league on the COVID list at 3. And then, it's there's always something. But, the good news is they're were in first place anyway before the pause. Vegas has since taken the lead with 7-game win streak. But they do have 2 games in hand, and they play the Golden Knights, if all goes according to schedule anyway, Monday and Wednesday. So I think that's when we'll find out who's for real, although, the Avs are probably still going to go into those games without their number 1 goalie. They'll probably have to play without Mikko Rantanen for at least one of those games. And Jonas Donskoy is the other guy who's out with COVID. He's a very valuable player. So, they're going to have to win with some of that vaunted depth that they do have on this team.
Well, Adrian, you cover the Avalanche so well, and obviously you got an eye on everything else that's going on around the NHL. I'm looking at my standings here on my score app. You got Vegas out front and with 66 points. Colorado has 2 games in hand, however. Minnesota sits 3rd, Arizona 4th. There's a big discussion in Canada with regards to how badly do you want to finish in first place, get a pennant, maybe a more favorable first-round matchup versus does it matter that much? Is there talk about that in your area, in Denver, with that first place, the importance of finishing first? How important do you think it is?
I think it's important. The Avalanche have never won a Game 7 on the road in the playoffs. They've lost a few. They want that home ice in a Game 7 if they have to have it, especially, with some fans in the stands anyway. Hopefully we'll have more by the start of, in the playoffs. But I think they want that, number 1 for the Game 7. And, I do think you want that easier first round if you can get it. Nothing against the Arizona Coyotes personally, but let's face it, that would be an easier first round probably than against the St. Louis Blues or the Minnesota Wild, I think. Although I do think the Avs would love to beat the Wild in the playoffs. So would their fans. I think the Avs would be very up for that. And so I don't know. I don't usually like to game plan too much and pick this team and want hope for this team. I think it's always best to just play what's in front of you and beat them no matter what. But let's face it, this is the real world. I think you'd want to you want that easier first round, perhaps. Let the other two slug it out in the first round and then play that other team in round two. But again, for Game 7 purposes, which historically does matter in the playoffs, home ice in Game 7, I think, is like almost 75% win percentage. So that's why you want that Game 7 on home ice. Well, I think we saw that importance of that. And we saw the Avs lose 2 Game 7s in the Western Finals in 1999-2000 at Dallas. And they made a vow that next year to get to Game 7 at home ice. It turns out they won 2 Game 7s in that run to the Cup in 2001, culminating with a win over the Devils.
Adrian Dater with us, Avalanche Insider, and I love the comments from our viewers here. Jeff Kabilis from Winnipeg writes in, he says, I got a Sakic Avs jersey. Love those Avs teams. Craig in Regina says, this guy has convinced me. The Avs are really good, but not deep enough for a long run. It matters to finish first. Teams are going to beat the snot out of each other. They better hope for the Yotes. The Blues would pound the body. Hey, it's a tough division. And Adrian, there's a lot of teams that learned a lot in the playoffs last year. The Flames did from Dallas. The Canucks did from Vegas. The Avalanche learned a lot, as you mentioned, losing out to Dallas. I mean, they're thinking cup or bust in Denver. Are they not? They have to be.
I mean, if it, I don't know if it's bust, but it's going to be a very disappointed group if they don't win the cup. I mean, I do think the window for this team is more than just this year, though. So, I don't think people should, Avs fans, jump off any buildings if they don't win it this year. That said, they're going to be tough to beat. I think, they're going to smack some teams around, too. The Avs are getting a little tired of being pushed around, I think, and they've played more physical lately. I think they're playing with meaner snarl. I think they're going to go into the playoffs with that we're not going to get pushed around mentality for sure. I think they're going to smack a couple teams in the mouth coming more than people think. And I also am really excited to see how they play at Vegas next week. Vegas does have a bigger team, and they've got a couple, let's call them borderline players at times. That is something that is a concern, I think, to some Avs fans, and they do have a size advantage. So the Avs do still have to prove themselves, I think, in that department. But they've added some size and toughness at the deadline, and you gotta catch them first if you're going to hit them. The Avs are a very fast team. I don't think a team like St. Louis or Minnesota or Arizona is going to be able to catch the Avs first of all in the playoffs. Vegas is going to be a battle no matter what. I think those are your 2 best teams of the Western Conference.
I love your use of the term borderline players. And by the way, I am a Golden Knights fan, and I know specifically of who you speak, led by Ryan Reeves. You know the game, Adrian. Can you tell me your background in hockey growing up in America? I mean, obviously you're an American. I can tell by your accent. But where did your love of the game come from?
Well, I did grow up back east, mostly in New Hampshire. But I grew up a rabid Bobby Orr fan of the Boston Bruins. I was a kid who watched hockey games at 8, 6, or 7. My mom would let me watch the first period of the Bruins games, and then I'd have to go to bed. But the great thing about being a Bruins fan in like 1970, 72 was it was always 3-0 after the first period, and Bobby Orr had 3 points, and I always went to bed happy. We didn't have my high school was really small, so we didn't have a hockey team in our high school, unfortunately. I did play hockey as a little kid, but kind of fell out of the game when we moved to a high school with no team and stuff, and didn't really have any ranks around. So, and then I also grew to 6'6" as a high school senior. So, actually, basketball was my game. I was starting center on our high school basketball team. State semifinalist, I'll have you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, Adrian, you sound, and judging by your picture, I would have thought you were born in the Ray Bourque era, so you've just betrayed yourself for how old you are. But I appreciate the chat, and like I say, since you were on last time, I'm digging into your stuff, and I think you do a great job. The last time you were on, here's my last question, I'll let you go. We talked about the Mckinnon versus Mcdavid argument, and I don't even know there's an answer today on that. So there isn't. But How did you feel about the discipline he served for throwing his helmet against the Coyotes? I kind of laughed, by the way, but what's the inside on that situation that night?
I mean, Nathan is a very he's a hothead. He's got a lot of burr under his saddle. Let me tell you, he's not a fun guy to be around at all when losing or they've lost a game. I've learned the hard way to don't even go near him after a loss. If you try to ask him a question after a loss, he's going to snarl at you and walk away. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy. I mean, he just doesn't like he doesn't like losing. He doesn't take any grief. You try to hit him, boy. He's going to know. He's going to take your name, number, and get back at you. And you know, he has that reverse hit too that Peter Forsberg used to have. He'll see you coming, and he'll reverse hit into you. And he's knocked a few guys on their butt. So he's an interesting guy. He's 25 and still, I don't know if he's hit his prime just yet. Even McDavid's a great player. Boy, I mean, I think McDavid is you can't beat McDavid for pure skill and speed. I think he's even faster than McKinnon. But I'd love to see those two guys play in a playoff series against each other. It would be an awesome series. Maybe that'll still happen in the third round. Who knows? Or no, it has to be the fourth round, doesn't it? I don't even know the rules anymore about the playoffs in third and fourth round. It still confuses me.
Nobody I've talked to knows, Adrian. So don't worry. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. You're not alone. My man, thanks. I always appreciate the time. Thanks for this. Stay safe and enjoy the hockey. We'll talk soon.
Okay, always good to talk to people in Saskatchewan. I visited there, and it's an awesome place.
Thank you, bud. We'll get that story next time.
Yeah.
Adrian Dater joining us. And this is the thing that I love about this guy. He talks about McKinnon being fiery. Adrian selling himself short.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.